Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy. My channel's Finding Value. Today we're going to do our daily technical analysis update of commodities, work our way through the dollar, yields, precious metals, and commodities ETFs that I follow. I'll interject my financial opinions as we go through it. And if you need help with anything, check out finding-value.com, where I dive deeper into these topics, deeper into these subjects, and looking for potential investment opportunities all across these areas. We do have a discount code going on. If you want to join the community, it is Mayday, Mayday. It's one word if you want a discount. So let's dive in. Let's take a look, see what's going on. We're starting with the DXY. This still looks pretty much bearish. It's been bearish for a while. Usually what you look for is you'll see things that squeeze up into corners here, and we broke out of that. That's what this is here, and they break out to the downside. As we zoom in on the downside breakout, you can see we've got these short-term patterns all facing upward, which are bearish. And you can see that we've been getting these impulse moves lower out of them. So that pattern or setup is bearish and will continue lower, in my opinion. We were down 0.5% on the DXY. It's going to be good, a good tailwind behind precious metals, and sometimes it's a tailwind behind commodities. It depends how the market perceives it. If the market is running into bonds, and that's generally what drives the dollar down, if they're running into bonds because of safety, it may not be a tailwind behind the assets at that time. But if it's a slow kind of grind lower, it generally is a tailwind at some point after the fear subsides of people running into bonds. So looking at yields, the 2-year, again, this to me looks bearish the entire way here. We had a move upward, which looks like this, and that is a rising wedge that's broken to the downside. So that still looks good for a potential move lower in yields. This is after we've broken this trend line, this upper trend line here to the downside. There's the breakout there. So that still looks like we could head lower in the short term. 10-year yield also heading lower. Very similar setup here, which is basically a flag pattern, and it is heading lower. We'll see if that continues. And that is a breakout just like the 2-year there. And then the 30-year also selling off, down almost about 1%. And it's a breakout, a retest, and most likely a head lower. For yields across the board, we've got TYX, TNX ratio. I use this ratio generally when this goes up. That is bullish for precious metals. Precious metals front run the move, and then it also goes up while the move occurs. So think of that as the 10-year going down more than the 30-year. And that will bring this ratio higher. Bond prices are up. They do look good to continue higher. We're up 0.68%, but if we back out, we've broken through this support resistance line, and we are heading higher. That's what it looks like for the short term. We've got the 2 and 10, which the yield curve uninverted a little bit. We're at 1.023, where the 2-year and the 10-year are almost equal to each other, and that's what the white line is at the bottom there. When we go below that 1, that is the yield curve uninverted. We've got gold up $3.2, but again, if we continue to get yields that fall, we have downward facing little patterns here. Those are generally bullish to continue higher. So everything looks pretty good for gold, and this is right in its prime window of opportunity where yield curve uninverts, gold goes up, yields go down. All of that is good for gold. It's also good for silver. Silver generally lags. We're down a little bit today, but we've got a good pattern with these big bullish engulfings showing up, and we are above resistance. So I do think this is going to rip here at some point. It's going to rip. RIP. And I've got companies that I think will benefit from this rippage. Platinum. Platinum sideways today, trading action. And we're right underneath this trend line here. We're trying to break out. We haven't broken out yet, but we've got a ton of basing here. When you base like this, that is generally a consolidation to move higher. We are consolidating on top of its cost curve. So basically, the cost curve is about 1,000, 1,100, depending on which one, but it's the high cost producers. We're right there, and they're already cutting back production. This will eventually work its way higher. Palladium up 3%, bouncing off support. There's that support resistance line that we've got. We're bouncing all over it and around it. But good move today, up 3%. GDX up 1.26, looking pretty good. And we're starting to gap away from this trend line here. So we came up, did a retest, and we're just stair-stepping higher. Looks good. GDXJ also up 1.8. We're underneath this resistance line. And I think this is going to explode at some point and just keep going. A lot of the times what happens is you hit it, you hit your head, you consolidate, hit your head, consolidate. We're going to, I think, break on through here. SILJ up 1.9%. Still in a pretty big pattern here, and I'd love to break this up here and see how far we can run. Run, Forest, run. XAU to gold ratio, gold and silver mining companies divided by gold, still looks fantastic. Nothing's really changed. Downtrend line broken, and I do think this will work its way on up. What will cause that? And when? Everybody, when's it going to go? Guys, you can't play the win game. You just got to say the setup's there, and you got to be patient and wait. The markets transfer money from the impatient to the patient, and that's what Buffett's quote is. So we have to be patient. The value's there. It's broken. Just waiting for the market conditions to come and swing around. Those market conditions, the uninversion of the yield curve, et cetera, those are all intact, and they are starting to blow behind us here right now. Crude oil down 2%. We're up against that resistance line, getting a little bit of resistance, but we had a monster move. 1, 2, 3, 4 days, pretty big move up against resistance. So we're getting a little bit of a pullback. We'll see if there's any follow through here. If we stay underneath it, just like this, go sideways, we're most likely going to break. So that's crude oil. TTF gas down a little bit, still looks good to go higher. Just small little selling pressure candlesticks. Think of it as a downward consolidation move. We've got natural gas down just a little bit, still looks good to go higher over time from where we're at today. We've got our boy XOP. Yeah, you know me. This is a really interesting setup here because I don't like seeing these big red candlesticks here. And then we're underneath the trend line. So we've got resistance right above us. I'd like to see us break back up above it. But right now we're still underneath it. And we'll see if this rolls over or if we can punch through maybe this week. OIH also has this big selling pressure move here, and we've been consolidating down here. It's not a bullish formation, though, and we're underneath resistance. Could this be a rollover where we're going to actually spill lower? It could be. It could be. And the reason I say that is the yield curve uninverting would cause potential selling pressure in energy. Energy usually sells off when the yield curve uninverts. So that could be a setup here, but we'll see. Crude oil definitely looks good to try to break higher. So we'll see. Conflicting information. Newcastle coal futures down 1.6%, but I still think it'll work its way on up. Probably being weighed on by TTF gas. We've got Sprott Uranium Trust up 2.9% at the bottom side of this support area. We'll see if it holds. If we get a slowdown in the market, it very well could kick us out to the downside, and we end up doing kind of a retest back to this area down here. Definitely possible. URA, we are up. Is this going to continue higher, or is this a pattern where we dump out to the downside? Difficult to say. We'll have to monitor it and watch. Same with URNM, same setup, and same with URNJ, same setup as URA. Big selling pressure move, and we'll see if it dumps lower, if it's a continuation pattern or not. Copper down slightly, but still looks good to try to work its way on up. I call that the bloody nose. Still, it's hanging on. It looks good in the very short term. Definitely, we've got momentum coming down here, but we'll see if it's turning. COPX, that looks actually doesn't look too bad. Bullish engulfing looks like it could go higher there, and copper didn't look too bad. Iron ore just trading flat, right on support. Looks pretty good for maybe an entry point even, right on support. We've got aluminum up a little bit, right above support. We'll see if it holds. Just kind of been trading sideways, basing out, which is good. Nickel down 0.75%, and I wouldn't jump in front of that. Wait for it to base out. Got a lot of momentum there to the downside. Move up 1.8, bouncing off support. There's the support level going across. You can see that we came in and bounced back up. We'll see if we can get any sort of momentum being driven to the upside. Emerging markets also up, weaker dollar, weaker yields. It likes that. And that looks pretty good. I think we'll work our way on up for emerging markets if the dollar continues to weaken. KRE also higher. This one, that's a funky looking chart. We've got big downside pressure. We could easily sell off further if it'd like to. Could be a continuation pattern. We've got TAN up 3.72%, getting some momentum there to the upside. But solar companies can't make any money, so I don't know why anybody would buy these things. Some of them are going bankrupt already. Lithium up 2.4% on support, looking pretty good. Could be a good entry point if we start to work our way on up here, if they can turn the momentum around. REMX also up 1.1%. Momentum still to the downside, though. I probably wouldn't jump in front of that train. We've got Baltic Dry Index down slightly, just underneath resistance support. We've got XHB up 2%, likes the lower yields. But this very well could be a continuation pattern lower. That's what I see. Whenever you drop down like this, whenever you drop down and you consolidate, it usually drops again. So, and vice versa, when you come up, you consolidate and you come up again. So we'll see. This still looks like we could easily head lower a little bit. Russell 2000, they all have this type of pattern here. We drop down and then they consolidate, and that could easily drop down, which makes me think that something's going on if these were to break higher. I'd be like, really? Liquidity or something coming into the system and probably buying up assets. SPX also, we've got a nice big selling pressure move, rising wedge, and it goes upward. That is weird. We'll see if this rolls over. We are coming back to resistance. The resistance is at 5,500-ish, somewhere in that range. NASDAQ did the same thing. Throw over top, selling pressure move lower, rising wedge, and we break higher. Make it make sense, guys. Sometimes what also occurs, but usually this is a red candlestick, not a green candlestick, is it gaps up in the morning and then it sells off throughout the day, but that did not occur. It gapped up in the morning and then was purchased throughout the day. So you're going to see a left to right movement. They gapped it up and then bought it up throughout the day. So the overall pattern is bearish to fall lower, and that will probably follow what yields do, lower. But again, big update today, and that is not what we're seeing in the charts. SMCI up 4.89%, but this still has a ton of momentum to the downside, still looks bearish to me. Support is down here at $300-ish. NVIDIA up 6.5%. Bearish engulfing, bearish engulfing. We did break the downtrend line today. Let me get a clean guy there. There it is. We broke that downtrend, so maybe it has a shot at going up to create, maybe to get up here again. But I've been bearish on this. I'm not a big player in the overvalued camp like this, and I've been looking at it from a bearish mindset, my own bias there. And then Bitcoin up 3.3%. This doesn't look too bad. It's holding on within the pattern, and same with Ethereum. This looks really good for a move higher with the small little candlestick, the big bullish engulfings there. So this still looks really bullish in the short term. And I know liquidity is coming into the markets around the world, and I'll go over that in the next clip. But That's what I've got for today. So give me a thumb up for the content, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the website. That's all I've got. We'll catch you next time. This is Finding Value.